Hello students, I welcome you all once again to the e-learning sessions of Automobile Engineering. Myself Hardik Shah, and during this lecture series we will discuss some interesting topics in the subject of automotive electricals and electronics. Okay, we have already started a new chapter, that is ignition systems. Okay, and our today's topic in this video, it is ignition timing control. Okay, I hope you will see this video till the end to completely understand this topic and gain your skills in automobile engineering. Okay, so I request you to note down any queries which arises during the lecture and ask it in comment section. I will try to solve all the queries as soon as possible. Okay, so without wasting much time, let's start our today's video. So what is ignition timing? Okay, so ignition timing is actually very important since the charge is to be ignited just before a few degrees before TDC, just before the end of the compression. Since when the charge is ignited, it will take some time to come to the required state of burning. Okay, so let's see the first, what is the ignition advance? Okay, now the purpose of the spark advance mechanism is to assure that under every condition of the engine operation, ignition takes place at the most favorable instant in time. Okay, that is the most favorable from the standpoint of the engine power, fuel economy and the minimum exhaust dilution. Fine. So by means of these mechanisms, the advance angle is accurately set so that the ignition occurs before TDC point of the piston. Fine. So the engine speed and the engine load are controlled quantities required for the automatic adjustment of the ignition timing. Most of the engines are fitted with mechanism which are integral with the distributor and automatically regulate the optimum spark advance to account for the change of the speed and load. Okay, so the two mechanisms are actually used. Okay, first one is centrifugal advance mechanism and second is vacuum advance mechanism. Okay, let's see first centrifugal advance mechanism. So the centrifugal advance mechanisms controls the ignition timing for the full load operation. Okay, now the adjustments mechanism is designed so that its operation results in the desired advance of the spark. Now the cam is mounted now movably on the distributor shaft so that as the speed increases, the flywheels which are swung further and further outwards shaft the cam in the direction of the shaft rotation. So as the result, the cam lobes make contact with the breaker lever, rubbing the block somewhat earlier, thus shifting the ignition point in the early, or you can say advanced direction. Okay, so depending on the speed of the engine and therefore of the shaft, the weights are swung outwards a greater or a lesser distance from the center. So they are then held in the extended position in a state of equilibrium corresponding to the shifted timing angle. So by a retaining spring which exactly balances the centrifugal force. Okay, so the weights that shift the cam either or a rolling contact or a sliding contact basis. For this reason, we distinguish between the rolling contact type and the sliding contact type of the centrifugal advance mechanism. Okay, there are two types in centrifugal advance mechanisms. The beginning of the timing adjustment in the range of low engine speeds and the continuous adjustments based on the full load curve are determined by the size of the weights, by the shape of the contact mechanisms, that is rolling or sliding contact mechanism, and by the retaining springs, all of which can be widely differentiating designs. Okay, so this centrifugal force control cam is fitted with a lower limit stop for the purpose of the setting the beginning of the adjustment, and also with the upper limit stop to restrict the greatest possible full load adjustment. So a typical sliding contact type centrifugal advance mechanism is actually shown here in the figure. Okay, Next is vacuum advance mechanism. Okay, what is that? It is actually shown here also, that is vacuum advance mechanism. It shifts the ignition point under the partial load operations. So the adjustment system is designed so that its operation results in the prescribed partial load advance curve. In this mechanism, the adjustment control quantity is the static vacuum prevailing in the carburetor, a pressure which depends on the position of the throttle valve at any given time and which is at a maximum when the valve is about half open. Okay, this explains the vacuum mechanism working. Okay, so the diaphragm of the vacuum unit is moved by changes in the gas pressure. Now the position of this diaphragm is determined by the pressure differential at the any given moment between the prevailing vacuum and atmospheric pressure. So the beginning of the adjustment is actually set by the pre-established tension on a comparison spring. Okay. Now the diaphragm area, the spring force and the spring rigidity are all selected in accordance with the partial load advance curve, which is to be followed, and they are balanced with respect to each other. Okay, so the diaphragm movement is transmitted through a vacuum advance arm which is connected to the movable breaker plate. Okay, and this movement shifts the breaker plate an additional amount under partial loading conditions. Okay, so you can say partial load ignition system conditions. Okay, now in a direction opposite to the direction of a rotation of the distributor shaft. Okay, now limit stops on the vacuum advance arm in the base of the vacuum unit restrict the range of this adjustment. So the vacuum advance mechanism operates independent of centrifugal advance mechanism. Fine. So the mechanical interplay between these two advance mechanisms permits the total adjustment angle at any given time to be result of the addition of the shifts provided by the two individual mechanisms operate in conjunction with the engine is operating under the partial load. Okay, both of them work combinedly. So you can see here the typical vacuum advance mechanism also in this figure. Fine. So now for the proper working of this ignition system, or you can say advance system, firing order is also very important factor. Okay, so let's discuss in brief this firing order. Okay, so what is that? The order or the sequence in which the firing takes place in different cylinders of a multi-cylinder engine is called firing order. Okay, it is always in multi-cylinder engine. Now in case of SI engines, the distributor connects the spark plug of the different cylinders according to engine firing order. Okay, so distributor is also very important for the firing order variations. Fine. Now what are the advantages? First, a proper firing order reduces the engine vibration. Second, maintain engine balancing. Third, it secures an even flow of the power. Okay, so here I have shown some of the firing orders for the multi-cylinder engines like 4-cylinder, 3-cylinder, 6-cylinder and 8 cylinders. Okay, you can see it also. So let's summarize this chapter. So in SI engine for ignition system, the combustion process is initiated by the spark between the two electrodes of the spark plug, that means inside spark plug gap. Okay, this occurs just before the end of the compression stroke. So ignition is only a prerequisite of the combustion. In this unit, we have also learned about the different types of ignition systems. Okay, and we have also learned about the difference between the battery and the magneto systems, which lies in the source of the electrical energy. Okay, now battery ignition system uses a battery, whereas the magneto ignition system uses the magneto to supply low voltage in all other system components. Okay, and other components will be similar to the battery ignition. The order or sequence in which the firing takes place in different cylinders of a multi-cylinder engine is actually called firing order. Okay, so this was the summarize of this chapter. Now let's see some important definitions that we have learned. First is battery ignition system. So it is commonly used because of the combined cheapness, convenience of the maintenance, attention and the general suitability inside the engine. Second is magneto-ignition system. So it is an efficient, reliable, self-contained unit. It is very important, which is often preferred for the aircraft engines because storage batteries are heavy and troublesome. So where we cannot use battery, we need to use magneto system. Okay. Third one, firing order. So it is the order in which the various cylinders of the multi-cylinder engines are fired, okay, by the distributor. And the fourth one is ignition timing. So it is the correct instant for the introduction of the spark near the end of the compression stroke in cycle in all the engines. Okay. So this was all about the ignition systems and electronic ignition system. So let's see some important questions in this chapter. First question, what do you understand by the ignition and how it is related to combustion? That was the first question. Second question, what are the requirements of the ignition system for the IC engine? Next, differentiate between the battery and magneto ignition systems that we have already discussed. Okay. Next, explain in brief the drawbacks of the conventional ignition system. And fifth, next, what is the difference between the ignition timing and firing order? Both are different, okay. And last, list the various electronic ignition systems in use and explain any one. Okay, so all the ignitions will be there. So that's it in today's chapter. I wish you got the clear idea about this. Therefore, if you have any more to know or have any specific queries, you can also let me know in the comment section. Okay, I will try to solve all the queries as soon as possible. I hope you like this video. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. Goodbye.